It is one of the most breathtakingly beautiful ceremonies on earth. Just days after commemorating the death and passing of Pope Francis, the papacy is reborn before the world. Out of the tomb, the papacy is resurrected anew as a symbol of the transfiguration of the whole of life in the transformative death and resurrection of Christ. And 3 votes in on the 4th ballot, the 133 cardinal electors gathered in the Vatican Sistine Chapel to elect our new Pope, the 267th Pope, who appeared at the central window, as you saw, of St. Peter's Basilica. It is the American Cardinal Robert F. Prevost. He is now officially Pope Leo XIV. He is the first ever American Pope, born in Chicago. So this was truly, again, absolutely historical. We are living in unprecedented times as we speak. President Trump weighed in, of course. He tweeted out, quote, "Congratulations to Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, who was just named Pope. It is such an honor to realize that he is the first American Pope. What excitement. What a great honor for our country. I look forward to meeting Pope Leo XIV. It will be a very meaningful moment." Now, it's very interesting, the fact that he is from the United States. That does suggest that let's just say the conclave was concerned about, shall we say, rather practical matters, not particularly theological. There is a theological element here that we're going to get to in a moment. But I do think there was some fiscal issues that the conclave seems to want to address. The election of an American just so happens to coincide with where the majority of the world's finances are. And the Vatican, while it has, of course, enormous assets, nevertheless does have significant issues with cash flow and liquidity. That's widely recognized. Again, they've got inordinate assets, but not necessarily cash flow. And by choosing a pope from the wealthiest part of the world, that means, I think, that the Vatican believes they can avail themselves of the rich finances that come with that. I think there was a very practical aspect to this election. But there is something much deeper and much more far-reaching than that. And that's when you consider the role of what's called theopolitics and all this. So we, of course, have geopolitics, right? The balancing out of international relations. But the Catholic Church in particular, being international, being the faith of 1.4 billion people around the world, the Catholic Church has something we call theopolitics. And by this, we mean that the Pope is going to have to effectively navigate and balance out the issues that are currently polarizing the Catholic world. So what we're seeing here in the Catholic Church are dynamics that are very reflective of what's happening all over the world, particularly here in our country, and that's the clash between the people and the establishment, right? It's the vertical divide we talk about so much in this country. So we're not dealing with so much, or on this channel rather, we're not dealing so much with a left versus right divide, a horizontal divide, as we are a vertical divide, a people versus the political class, the masses versus the elite, the ruled versus the rulers. And that is the default social, political, economic, cultural, and religious division that is opening up almost everywhere in the world, particularly here in the United States, but also throughout heavily Catholic Latin America and Europe for sure. Let's be honest, we're not getting any younger. And if you want to look and feel your best, you need to check out Pure Health Research. They have 45 premium health supplements designed to help with your every health goal, whether it's boosting your energy or trimming belly fat or supporting healthy blood sugar or pumping your testosterone up or even reducing swelling in your legs. Pure Health Research Supplement Store has you covered. Each formula is crafted with natural, non-GMO ingredients backed by clinical research and manufactured right here in the good old USA. And here's the best part. Pure Health Research is offering you an exclusive 35%
discount. All you have to do is go to purehealthresearch.com and then use coupon code Turley at checkout. With their 365-day money-back guarantee, there is zero risk in trying something new. So why wait? Head on over to purehealthresearch.com right now, explore their 45 amazing supplements, and save 35% off before this deal ends with coupon code Turley. Don't miss this chance to feel your best.
And so how this is playing out in the Catholic Church is that you have two overall wings of the church. I know it's more complicated than that, but I think for simplified purposes, there are two overall wings. You have what are called the traditionalists. So they're very much, the social conservatives. They're proponents of celebrating the Latin Mass. They're more attuned toward pre-Vatican II Catholicism. And then you have on the other side the modernists, and these are more liberal. They're more predisposed towards social justice. They see pro-life commitments as extending to immigration rights and prisoner rights and the like. And what's so fascinating here is that the Catholic Church at the parishioner level, so if we're thinking vertically now, at the level of the congregant, the level of the people, again, not so much the clergy, but at the level of the congregants, the Catholic Church is going through an extraordinary re-traditionalization. And this is where particularly young people are becoming very attracted to the ancient rites of the church. So, for example, the New York Post had a very interesting piece on young men in particular converting to Eastern Orthodoxy. That's my congregate, my fellowship, or whatever you want to call it, my allegiance. Here in the United States, young men in particular are very attracted to Eastern Orthodoxy, Orthodox parishes. So an 80% increase in converts in recent years. I've been seeing it in my own parish. And we're seeing the same thing in particularly traditionalist Catholic churches. Catholic churches are celebrating the Latin Mass. Again, the New York Post reported year-over-year increases of 30 to 70% in new Catholic converts. Primarily being attracted to the traditionalist wing of the church. And that's very much what we're seeing, interestingly enough, all throughout the UK. So Catholic Church membership is actually on the course to surpass Anglican Church membership for the first time in centuries, literally for the first time since Henry VIII. So we're seeing something even more extraordinary in France. Just over the Easter weekend alone, there was a record-breaking 17,800 convert baptisms across the country. There were nearly 10,400 adult baptisms, an astonishing 7,400 baptisms of young people between the ages of 11 and 17. And again, note these are converts. These are not adults. These are adults and young people who are getting baptized for the very first time. So baptisms are up 45% in France from this time last year in 2024. But the key here is that the momentum, the dynamism in the church right now is clearly with the traditionalists. However, the leadership, the conclave, is overwhelmingly modernist. 85% of the cardinals were appointed by Pope Francis, and Pope Francis was very, let's just be blunt. Let's use the real term. He was very liberal, and he appointed a number of comparably modernist liberal cardinals. But again, the energy, the inertia, and ironically, the finances in the church are on the side of the traditionalists. And so the primary theopolitical issue here for this new pope is how is he going to reconcile those two dynamics, the modernist and the traditionalist? And as far as this conclave is concerned, 85% Francis-influenced conclave. What they made absolutely clear with the selection of Prevost, they want to continue down the path of Francis. They wanted a Francis 2.0. They wanted to continue down the path of the more modernist, progressive wing of the church, at least when it comes to its clergy, when it comes to its leadership, because that's exactly what I believe Prevost is going to give them. He is rather liberal as far as Catholics go. If you don't know, I'll give you a couple of samples of what Prevost has said in the past about our civilizationalist populism. He has been very, very critical of President Trump and Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele for their compliance in Trump's mass deportation operation. And it's ironic that the very cardinal that has been so openly critical of our nation enforcing its borders is about to take up residence inside a city fortified by walls. He's actually had a number of woke left-wing tweets in the past. He supported BLM. He denounced Trump's rhetoric towards migrants. He's tweeted some anti-gun ownership tweets. Pretty standard Libby stuff. He even joined Francis on excoriating J.D. Vance for his Ordo Amoris defense of nationalism. So if you remember, J.D., who's a devout Catholic, he espoused a classical Augustinian tradition for why we actually enforce our borders. Something, again, that Francis, who lived behind very large walls that surrounded Vatican cities, simply despised for other countries. But J.D. argued that classically, we are supposed to love God and then love our families and our neighbors and our nation, right? It's love God, love neighbor, family, nation, and so forth. That's the Ordo Amoris. And then that love, that exact same love, extends out to other nations. We lock our doors at night, not because we hate the people on the outside, but because we love the people on the inside. That's Ordo Amoris. And I assure you, Francis and now Leo XIV, I assure you, they both took and will take proper precautionary steps to secure the safety of those closest to them. Guarantee it. It's called Ordo Amoris. You have a responsibility to those in your proximity. Nevertheless, Prevost decided to go full woke against JD and say, there is no ordered loves when it comes to my neighbors, as he sits behind Secret Service, who's not just protecting him, but protecting those around him. Interesting. All that said, as it turns out, he is a registered Republican. Interestingly enough, and apparently has voted in Republican primaries. So he at least has one redeeming quality here. Oh, no, I don't know how much I can say Republicans are redeeming. Now, needless to say, this was not the guy I was rooting for. I'll just come out and say, I'm not Catholic. I'm Eastern Orthodox. We share a lot in common, but we don't have, in Orthodoxy, we don't have a pope, largely for this reason. We're conciliar in our church government. In other words, our church government is by the panoply of bishops, not one. But that said, I was hoping for someone who would be much more of an effective bridge between the traditionalists on the one side and the modernists on the other. So I was hoping for Cardinal Robert Serra of Guinea, or the Hungarian Cardinal Peter Erdo, the Italian Secretary of State for the Vatican, Pietro Parolin. I think he would have been very good. Cardinal Pizzaballa. He was considered actually the ideal via media between the traditionalists and the modernists. He would have been a very unifying figure. Of course, the jury's still out for the new Pope, Pope Leo XIV. We'll have to see how he governs. But as it stands, based on his prior positions, he is likely to be more or less a Francis 2.0 and no friend to the rising civilizationalist movement, which is not going to be very healthy, I think, for the Catholic Church, or at least potentially will not be very healthy. And I think we could see, actually, there is going to be, shall we say, an incentive for him to be friendly, at least to the traditionalist wing within the Catholic communion. And that's where I think where we could see how these two dynamics, the financial, practical dynamic and the theopolitical dynamic, come together. Steve Bannon was actually weighing in on this a couple of weeks back. So Bannon's, of course, a traditionalist Catholic, and he's been warning that were the conclave to pick another Francis, they would be risking creating a schism in the church, where the church is the most vibrant, the traditionalist wing. But the problem there is that if the conclave were to snub the traditionalists, it's not just that wing of the party that will snub them in return, but they can also expect any funds that they were hoping to come from the United States to largely dry up. right? So even if there weren't a split, there would be at the very least a financial revolt against Rome in that case. So that said, there is a very real practical incentive for the new Pope, Pope Leo, to appease the traditionalists. Again, I hate to be so crass here, but their cash flow depends on it. So we'll see how things develop. But either way, another day and another absolutely historic moment in the rising golden age. By the way, click on the link in the description below to get all these articles and tweets I reference throughout my videos emailed to you each and every day. You're going to love it. We want you to have the best resources out there to convince your family and your friends of this new MAGA super age that's rising here.